Okay. All right. And welcome to Music, Philosophy, and More, episode number 7, with your host, John Henry Sheridan, your super co host, Louis La Rocco, and your excellent righteous guest, Jeremy Batchelor.
What
Thank you
happened
for
to
being here.
esteemed?
You are still esteemed. You're also excellent and righteous.
All right. Okay.
Okay. Um, so we're going to dive in. Before we dive in, I'll just give a little bit of background on Jeremy. Just pretty much what I put in the show notes was that Jeremy's a Brooklyn native. He's a longtime fan of music and rock and metal and other types of music, and a bass player. And now he's a director of photography, freelance director of photography. So we're going to find out what his journey entailed, and we're going to have some stories and some laughs along the way, and we're going to not not going to be too rough on each other.
Not too rough.
No, but we do go back a ways, so that brotherly jiving might come out. So, Jeremy, is there anything you want to add to your bio that I egregiously left out?
No, I think you nailed everything.
Cool, thank you.
I think it's pretty accurate. I would maybe say former bass player. I don't know.
No, I'll never say that about you. So Lou, is there anything you just like to remind our listening audience about regarding yourself and where you're at? Because you and Jeremy have a bit of a similar journey in that you were playing music and then now you're more in the film industry or in the background
Right.
of the industry in a sense.
Well, I was gonna wait to see what he had to say because usually on set, the director of photography and a lot of the camera guys are usually my enemies since I did a lot of boom operating. So,
Oh yeah, get it out of my shots. Get it out.
yeah, exactly. So they don't really tell you when they're gonna move the camera, when they're gonna go up, down, and then I don't know. So I was just gonna ad lib depending upon what he said and kind of lunge in there, but yeah, we both came from music, which is funny, and both ended up more in film, television, and media. And I went into the audio side, so I've had a lot of experience with like directors of photography and cameramen and stuff like that, but more from the boom operating angle.
Cool. So yeah, cool. Glad you chimed in there. Thank you, and just shout out to Jason Batchelor who is watching.
Oh, hey, what's going on?
You know Jason, right?
I know that guy. Yeah, I've met him once or twice. Yeah.
All right. Cool. All right, so we're gonna dive in here. So I might jump around with questions depending on how the answer goes, but let's just start simple. Jeremy, can you remember what it was that got you into enjoying music in the first place?
Oh, I think I just always grew up around music. My parents always played music. On the radio. My mom was always listening to music. My dad always played like the oldie station, driving around in the Dodge Aries. That I remember him driving the red Dodge Aries. Yeah, so it's always been. And then I have an older brother and an older sister who influenced my musical taste a lot. And then I guess sometime around 10, 11-ish, I discovered rock and roll and heavy metal. Yeah.
So what? Very interesting. I didn't realize that. I kind of should have, I guess, maybe knowing you for a long time that your parents were into music, but I didn't really know that. I didn't think about it.
Well, they didn't play. They weren't musicians, but there was always music constantly playing.
Cool. Yeah, sure, it makes sense why they would support you in that. So what was some of your earliest inspirations musically, like maybe names of artists or just like a memory of picking up a broomstick and playing, whatever comes to mind?
Oh, I mean, I started playing because my brother started playing. My brother wanted to play guitar, so I was like, I want to play guitar too. And my uncle, who played guitar, started teaching my brother. But then I decided that I was going to play bass, because we figured it'd be good if like one brother plays guitar, one brother plays bass. it would be easier. And like I was kind of resistant to it. I was like, no, I don't want to play bass. Bass is boring. And then my brother played Anesthesia for me, and I was like, oh, the bass can do that. That's cool. Yeah, I want to do that. I still can't do that, but I've tried. You know.
Right.
So,
Yeah, interesting.
But
Cool.
you had half a band right off the bat.
Mhm.
It's funny. So like, yeah. So me and my brother, we never really were in a band together though. It's strange. I mean, we've played together and like we've attempted to do projects together, but there was never any sort of band that was built around like the two of us. I think we were both just into different. We're both into metal, obviously, but different types of metal. And yeah.
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I guess I kind of noticed that. Didn't really think about it much, but I did notice that you didn't play in bands together.
I mean, we should have. I mean, like we could have started a bachelor party. Would have been a great name for a band if we were both in
Hey.
one, right? Like,
Yes,
That would have been a
that
good
would've been
name.
Perfect.
yeah,
It's-
right.
It's not too late. I mean, look,
It's not. Well, it
that
won't be a
that's
boy band.
No, it'll be a 80s cover band, I guess, or something like that,
Yeah.
or 70s or hits cover band.
Oh yeah, yeah. Top 40 cover band. Just do it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you got can your sister sing? I don't remember, because then you got a third one there.
No, there are no singers in my family.
Okay, all right. So what were some of your favorite bands, let's say in the beginning? Maybe we'll get to which ones you're listening today, but when you started listening to music, what were some of the musicians, bands you liked?
So it's funny. So so I grew up listening to like basically what my parents listened to, and then especially what my sister was listening to, which was a lot of like the 80s pop stuff, you know.
Mhm.
And then I discovered, I think it was, I forget the order of things, but it was definitely a period of like Poison and Bon Jovi, right? Like discovered that and been like, oh, this is great. I love this rock and roll stuff. And then I remember like my uncle gave my brother and I 2 records to listen to. One of them was Black Sabbath's Paranoid and Appetite for Destruction by Guns N' Roses. And that listening to Paranoid just completely changed what music was for me. I was like, oh, this is like Poison and Bon Jovi. No disrespect to those guys. I still love those. I still listen to Unskinny Bop every now and then, you know. but you know, what's listening to Sabbath was life changing. And then from there going to like, you know, the Guns N' Roses also, and Metallica and Megadeth and that area of metal. And then there's bands that, you know, that were becoming kind of popular that you could hear on like MTV, like Faith No More was a big one. I know it's a big one for you too, Lou. Yeah. To this day, I mean, like I think Faith No More is probably the most underrated band of all time. Like,
oh yeah, they never got the credit they should have. Mike
Patton still like doesn't get the love and respect that he deserves. But yeah, so I went, you know, started getting into that route, and then, you know, you guys remember. I'm just trying to think of like my sort of like my metal journey into like from like, you know, late 80s, early 90s, you know, glam metal to thrash metal to like, hearing Amorphous one night on WSOU, and being like, what is this? You know, like this is like, it's heavy, yet it's melodic. It's beautiful. Like what is, you know, it was nothing like I ever heard. And it just kind of expands from there.
Sure. Wow. That's great. I also remember you, well, we'll get to Dream Theater, I guess.
Yeah, I know. I didn't even get there.
Right.
Well, that was in 95.
Oh, okay.
That because good friend of mine, Jason Donnelly, he was a huge Dream Theater fan, and so we kind of, they were coming to town. They were playing Roseland, and so we all decided to go because we knew he was into it. I never really heard them. Like he played them for me before, and like I think we watched like a couple of their live videos, but I never really paid attention to them. I was like, oh, that's good. Yeah, I'll go to the show. And then I just remember going to the show and seeing them play live and just being blown away that people can play the way they do and do it live flawlessly. Like it was just like, it's just a different level of musicianship than I sort of comprehended at the time.
Yeah,
Oh,
they were almost as intricate as Warrant.
I always put those two together. Yeah.
Yeah. You know,
Yeah,
but
no.
Winger is sort of the unsung technical heroes of the.
They
you know,
are.
They are. No, they're very good musicians. Kip Winger is an
Yeah.
excellent bass player. Rod Morgenstein's an amazing drummer. But you know,
Yeah,
they
if
sing
you think
about 17-year-old girls, so it's kind of
Oh,
you know.
Yeah.
It's rough to admit.
They lost
Yeah.
some street credit with that one, but
Yeah.
if you listen to the later albums, they do get pretty progressive. And
Oh yeah.
Kip Winger went and got like composition degree or something afterwards and put out a classical album. And
Oh yeah.
really?
he's kind of a madman. Yeah, yeah. He's quite a musician. He's got good looks too.
Oh yeah.
Just saying.
For
I'm just saying.
days, for years.
Probably still looks great.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I wouldn't know. I didn't check him out recently or anything.
No.
You definitely have to work to wear those leather pants like that. You know what I mean? You gain that. You earn
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never actually earned that. I was going that direction.
Yeah, you went through a leather pants period, didn't you, John?
Actually, you would think I did, but I didn't.
You didn't? No.
No.
Hmm.
Seems like I would have, but
Yeah, I'm not.
I think Lou probably did.
I'm sure we could
You
find a
did,
photo
Lou.
somewhere. I think I wore leather pants once in my entire life, and I said I'm never doing this again.
Yeah, I could say I've never worn leather pants, but my life's not over yet. There's still time.
Yeah,
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's true.
It's never over.
It's never.
I just want to say shout out to Tommy Hoffman who's joining and sent a wave.
Oh, hey, Tommy.
What's going on, Tommy?
TJ.
Good to see you. Yeah. Another bass player from
Yeah.
from the Brooklyn hood. So Jeremy, can you take us on a mini tour of your experience as a bass player in Sheepshead Bay, Brooklyn, from the mid '90s, early 2000s when you were active? Meaning, like, what was it like? What was the scene? Who did getting into a band you played with, or
Yeah.
whatever you like
Well,
to share about it?
Yeah, definitely. When I started playing bass, I was, I think I started like, probably like a lot of us playing in school, playing the school band. And I never played in a band until I met you, John. Yeah. At the time, it was called Impact. Am I getting that right?
Wow.
Was it?
It may have been Impact when you joined.
Yeah.
If not, it would have been Grim Reality, or maybe we transitioned into
Yeah,
that together.
it became Grim Reality because I remember going back. I remember being in the band when you were debating whether to call the band Grim Reality or there was
Mind
another
Reaper?
name.
Mind Reaper?
Yes.
Mind Reaper.
I was like something Reaper, not Grim Reaper. Yeah, Mind Reaper.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So that helps.
Yeah.
So when do you place it that you started playing with us? Because I have it. I won't say. I want to see what you say.
Oh, I could tell you exactly. It was 1990. It was the summer of '95.
Yes, that's what I say.
Because I hadn't started. It was the summer between graduating junior high school and going to high school to Madison. Because I had already met Joey DeWack through Mike Perillo, through Mikey, because he was in the band. He was in your band before me.
No, after you.
Both.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He? Yeah.
I think you came first.
No, because I met Joey through Mikey. Yeah. Because Joey used to come around and hang out with Mikey, and he was in the band. And then for whatever reason, Mikey left the band, or I don't know how that went down. I don't remember how that went down. And then I joined, and that was the first band. And then I had left at some point, and Mikey rejoined the band. Maybe I could be completely misremembering this because my memory is terrible. But I know for sure I don't know how Joey and Mikey would have known each other had Mikey not been playing in your band.
Right. I thought we met Mikey through you and Jason. That's what I thought.
Hmm.
Anyway, yes, my memory is that you joined first, then then you left, then Mikey joined, and then we asked you to come back and help out for a while, sometimes playing gigs,
Yeah.
something to that effect.
I think
I don't think
that's
Mikey was in the band twice.
I think that's what I remember too, because when I met all of you guys, it was already a band, and Mikey was the bass player. And then when he left, I met Jeremy. I'm pretty positive that's the way that went down.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
Lou came into the picture December 96.
Are you sure?
So you
How do
Oh,
you
yeah?
guys remember these dates like this?
Well, I only remember because like I remember I started high school in '95, and I just remember it was the summer before I started high school. But yeah, but Lou, but you
Yeah.
came. I met you later. Who were you introduced through to the group through?
Justin was the one who brought me in, and I believe it was freshman year of high school. I think freshman year of high school, I met Justin. Justin brought me to John Henry's.
That's right, because you went to
St.
Don't tell me.
Edmunds.
St. Edmunds. I used to live down the block from St. Edmunds. So
Really?
but yeah. I grew up on Ocean Avenue. Well, before I moved where you probably know where I lived. I lived on Ocean Avenue between U and T.
Okay.
I used to play. I hit my first home run in the St. Edmunds parking lot, or at the
Really?
schoolyard, which it's not there anymore.
That wasn't a big. Did they close the whole entire school down? Because I heard that they're
they
starting
expanded
to.
it.
Really?
Oh, I don't know, but I know that playground's not there anymore. Like they built another building in the playground.
Oh, wow.
Um,
I started
but yeah,
hearing
that's
from
right.
people they were closing it, like it was going to be done
Yeah.
for. So I don't know.
could be. I mean, by the end, my son went to school right over there. So as of June, they were still open, but I don't know. Maybe they're closing this year.
Yeah, but that's right.
That was a big yard. That was some home run.
Oh yeah, dude. First and last time I ever hit a home run.
But I mean, I guess if you put it into proportion, because we must have been a lot smaller then.
Yeah, but that's right. So you came in through the group through Justin through school. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, when my autobiography comes out, it'll all be made clear. Then you guys can send me an email. You made a mistake here, or
yeah. We'll have to fact check it.
Oh yeah, please do. But I'm gonna definitely make a disclaimer that this is my version of history. That's all I could tell you.
Yeah.
I'll do my best to check along the way, but
yeah. So just one of the things that like sticks out. So after I joined your band, I've had this history of being in bands and playing with people that I probably had no business playing with at the time. Like people that were just far better than me at, but far more advanced musicians at the time, because I went from playing with you guys to then like joining Sidonia and playing with Jason Donnelly and Duke. We're both just monster players. And I faked my way through all of it. I just showed up. I guess
that's one of the most important things for a bass player to do.
Yeah.
Just make it there.
The most important ability is availability, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just to have a straight face.
Yeah.
So when did you join Sidonia? Do you remember?
That probably had to be somewhere in '96.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would guess, right?
Yeah, it was somewhere in '96, and because I had left. I don't know if it was Beauty and Chaos at the time or Grim Reality or what it was called at the time, but I don't remember. I don't remember the timeline of all the different band names. But then, I remember like doing shows together. I remember this correctly. Did we do a show where I played with both bands that night at the bank?
Yes, I think that was like I said, I think that was a post after Mikey had been with us. You were with us, Mikey was with us, and then we had no bass player.
Yeah.
And then that was during that era that we
filled in for a couple of shows. Yeah.
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 And you played with Sidonia and us at the bank, I guess it was, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So
If
that
I'm
would
remembering
line
that
up
correctly.
because I think the bank was the gig that I was fixing Joey Dwack's guitar like 2 or 3 times when he kept breaking
Mhm.
strings and I was the quote unquote guitar tech.
Uh,
A title I had no business having just because I was throwing strings on.
It's like, you play guitar, you know how to do this.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And yeah, that would line up with me meeting him in, well, you said I met all of you guys in 96, right? But I remember Mikey very
Okay.
clearly.
Yeah, he would have been in the band at that time, and Mikey at 96, and
I mean, we were all around at the same time. Like when I was in the
Mhm.
band or Mikey was in the band, we were still all hanging out. Like there was no, there
Right.
was never like I don't. If I'm remembering correctly, at least on my end, anytime we left bands or joined other bands, there was never like animosity. It was always like
Yeah.
we always kind of like swap. Like you filled in with Sidonia for us, John. Like you played our very first gig because we had no singer, and you sang for us.
Hmm. Right.
Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah,
I still remember that gig.
that was always very important to me to
Yeah.
put friendships first
Oh
as
yeah.
much as possible.
John played my
'Cause yeah,
first gig ever too.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I have a new identity. I forgot about that. I'm the starter.
You
the
are. You are.
Kickstarter.
Yeah. Yeah. John, you probably are like my biggest musical influence. Like as far as like my playing and playing in bands and exposure to bands, and like as far as my playing and learning about music. Um, yeah, a lot of that comes from, we played together so much between the bands and the high school bands and jazz band and all those things, the school shows that we did together. Like
True.
we logged a lot of, I've probably played more hours with you than anybody else.
Hmm.
You
Yeah, I
know,
could see that. Yeah, cool. I appreciate that. Yeah, I always felt that working with you was just kind of second nature. I don't know how else to say it. Just a natural pairing.
yeah, wasn't the greatest player, but I showed up.
I was going to do that. And I was like, wait, it's not my place to say.
Yeah. Yeah. Hindsight. Like, I listened to the old recordings and stuff and I'm like, oh yeah, like this was not good, but I was there.
Oh man, yeah, you were there. You had the look and you had the determination. One thing I want to say about Jeremy, I was thinking about it when I was chanting tonight. I regard Jeremy as a fighter, for lack of a better word. I don't mean like antagonistic, but just
Mhm.
like a contender. Like you're not going to get him down for long. That's your
Yeah.
spirit. And no matter what, you just keep getting back up and you take the punches and just, okay, what's next? So that's definitely why people would want you in their band or just want you on their team or their creative projects, from my point of view, because you
Yeah.
just do things. You don't let excuses get you down or whatever circumstances.
That's called a
Yeah.
natural freelancer.
I was gonna say I appreciate that, and like that's definitely plays a factor in what I do today. Like I show up and I work hard. Like no one's gonna outwork me. I might not have the talent that some people have, like the natural ability and like the eye for this or the musical talent for that, but like I'm gonna give it 100% every time. I'm not gonna coast.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I've certainly seen that with except that we've worked together doing videos too, and I could see that carries through that same work ethic that you had as a bass player, which is I'm gonna put my nose to the grindstone and show up. Is you still have that. So let me jump to the next question. Can you name some? You did acknowledge me, and I thank you so much. Can you name any other of your most influential music teachers or bass teachers? There's one in mind. I have in mind, but anyone in
Yeah.
general.
Oh, I mean, as far as bass teachers go, Cricket, who's still a good friend of mine till today. Like I just spoke to him the other night. He's definitely my biggest musical influence as a bass player. Like everything I know, all of my technique, everything came from him. It was kind of it was a chance encounter that I met him, that somebody introduced me to him, and it was such a natural fit from day one. And he's been my go-to instructor ever since. I met him through somebody else. I was looking for a new teacher, and somebody gave me the name of somebody. I think his name was Greg Baker. And so I call Greg and I'm telling him, what kind of music I'm into, and that I play 6-string bass. And he was like, "Oh, well, I'm not the teacher for you." Like, he's like, I think he was more of an upright bass player. And he was like, "But I have this buddy Cricket who might be a good fit for you."
Mm-hmm.
Which is an odd thing, right? Like, people turning away students, passing them off because they know that they're not the right teacher for them.
It's respectable.
Yeah, it is. So I'm like, oh, like, okay. So and then I called Cricket, and like, now I've known Cricket, man, 20 years, over 20 years.
Yeah. I'm
so
sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then of course Jason Donnelly, who is probably the guitar player I've played with, second most amount of hours, who's still a good friend of mine till today. Being in bands with him and just learning from him, and he's one who introduced me to Dream Theater and influenced me to pick up the 6-string bass rather than the measly 4.
Right.
So, yeah.
Cool. Any teachers from your schools that kind of jump out? I mean, just wondering.
Like always having, like at Madison, we had some great music teachers. Feels like a different lifetime though. Like it's so weird. Like that feels like Modus, like we didn't even get to Modus Tollens, but like Beauty and Chaos, Modus Tollens, Sidonia, like all that stuff seems like so like fresh to me, like a lot of those memories. But for some reason, like high school band seems like it seems like it's happened to somebody else. It seems like it was something I watched in a movie, It's just it's just odd. But yeah, like I remember. Well, I mean, we had so Mr. Rams was a huge influence. Like he really let me experiment and like join a lot of the different bands. I don't know if that's because he thought I was a good player or just because I was the only bass player there at the time. But like he definitely encouraged me and helped me get ready for my college auditions and stuff. And so did Sean O'Hara, who oddly, do you know the story? That I knew
a singer. Oh no,
I knew of him before he started teaching at Madison.
Really?
He was actually supposed to audition for Sidonia as a vocalist.
Oh wow!
Like a couple of years before he started teaching at Madison.
Wow.
And we figured out one day. I was talking to him, and I mentioned the band, and he was like, "Wait a second." And it was just this odd, like weird moment of like, oh my God, like I was almost in a band with someone who was going to become my high school music teacher a couple of years later.
It's a weird thing.
Yeah.
Cool. And I know you played in guitar ensemble at least 1 year, maybe more, with Miss Morris, right?
Oh yeah. See, this is what I mean. Like, I don't mean to forget anybody, but yeah, Miss Morris was great. Mighty Morris, I used to call her. It's just such a great. She was so much fun. I remember playing a lot of those fun songs. Remember that Ancillary Ants song? That really weird,
so strange.
She always had this way of like picking these really interesting, cool songs for us to play. We did Christmas Eve Sarajevo, like we did the Sabotage version in guitar ensemble. Like, do you remember that? Am I making that up?
Might have been.
No, you played. Yeah, you played electric guitar on it. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you may have come back. Actually, yeah, you may have. It may have been like the year.
Yeah.
You may have come back for the performance and played along with us.
Yeah, that sounds a bit familiar.
Because you were a year older than me. Right.
Yeah, you're in school anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And actually, I remember my first guitar ensemble piece that I ever attempted. Pretty sure I remember you. Do you remember something about Adventures of the Marshmallow Man or something like that?
Yeah.
That I wrote in high school.
Yeah.
I don't know what it sounded like, but I remember you were in the group.
Yeah, I don't remember. I remember that title. I don't remember playing it though, or what it sounded like.
Right. Yeah, that's one piece that just disappeared. I usually keep good records of things, but that's
Yeah.
gone.
But you've stuck with the marshmallow theme.
Yes.
Yeah, it returned. It returned. So, cool. Luke, you want to chime in? Just as like a counterpoint, I know you didn't really have teachers per se. So,
Yeah. When I was in St. Edmunds years ago, we had a school band, and I was actually the lead guitar player for the band. I think I was the only guitar player in it because it was like 5 people. And my teacher was named Mr. Fabrizio. So I had a total different background than you guys. All of you guys knew people from Madison and stuff like that, and I was in a total different world. Justin didn't do the band in the school. TJ didn't. So it's just kind of something I did extracurricular.
right.
And everything to your point about how certain memories in school seem like you were watching a movie. I feel like yesterday feels like that. I don't know how you guys have the memory you do.
Yeah.
You guys throw numbers and I get all confused and I'm like, wait, 8, 9, what?
Oh yeah.
Right.
It's weird how I remember these things, but you asked me what I did yesterday, and I'm like,
Well, it's funny
Right.
because
Yeah.
this is, which episode was this again, John? This is 7?
7, yeah.
Yeah, everybody he has on can actually throw dates and months and like have clear thoughts. And man, it's like a smudge to me. All of Brooklyn.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I do like, I have some friends where like, we're talking about something like this, and I'm like, yeah, I think it was somewhere around, 98, and then they'll chime in, no, it was 97 because blah blah. And I'm like, what? I don't know how you remember that. And,
Right.
The
Yeah,
worst,
it's
though,
like-
is when they
got
come
a
up with
decade right.
something that's like an embarrassing memory and everything checks out on all ends.
oh yeah, those you remember.
Yep. And everybody remembers it accurately. It's like you're looking
Oh,
for
yeah.
inaccuracies and everybody remembers it.
Right.
Yeah, and we're from the time where everything we did wasn't captured on a cell phone, where we can't go, well, let's go, let's look at what happened that day.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Where we have to
No, we
actually
can't.
remember stuff.
We were one of the
Yeah.
last generations that it just kind of, if we didn't write it down and catalog it, it's pretty
Yeah.
much gone.
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of the generation that were like half of our life at some point, I guess, like by the time we were like in our mid-30s, half of our life was with technology, with modern technology,
Mhm.
computers and the internet. Well, the internet, I should say the internet. Like half of our life was with the internet and half of it was without it. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because our
know.
internet wasn't exactly portable. Laptops were still super expensive and you had to be home to be online.
oh yeah, I
And
remember
once you
like
left, it was over.
yeah, that was it.
Right.
Oh, I gotta go.
Mhm.
And
Be-
and
yeah.
dial-up, dial-up days is
Oh,
a whole
yeah.
different ballgame.
You can't boot somebody from the internet anymore.
No, it's always on. It's
Remember the
always,
IM boot when you were like,
Oh,
oh, I'm
yeah.
going to kick this guy offline. And then
Yeah.
you just like hit them with like 1,000 IMs in a row and it would knock the connection
Oh
off.
yeah. Oh man, see, those are the things I kind of forgot about. Was like the silly AIM stuff that we used to do,
Yep.
and all the chat rooms and all that stuff.
Yeah, chat rooms, they don't even exist anymore.
Now, like this is it. Like we're doing it. This is the new chat room.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Mhm.
We can actually see each other and hear each other. It's weird.
It's weird. Very weird.
It's a lot easier for our generation to make a fake screen name so no one knows who we are and just troll
Oh
everybody.
yeah. Nobody used their real name on AIM. Like everyone had silly names.
That was
You
the
know?
wild west of the internet. Now everything is a login with Facebook, or soon
Yeah.
it's going to be login with Apple and everyone's going to know your name.
Yeah. Like I think I remember, John. I think I remember your AIM name.
Do you?
Yeah. Was it Gloomtub?
Yup.
How can I
Yeah.
come up with that? That's so
I don't
bizarre.
know. It's, it's
I went with it.
Yeah.
I guess I was pretty serious at that time, right? Heavy.
oh, mine was dead, right? Like
Right.
Dead 1206. Like who
Yeah.
who did I think I was, right?
And
Like,
thank you for that. Because of that, that I thought. Wait. Yeah, I thought your birthday was in December because. It's
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
12/6.
Yeah. Yeah. 1206 was a completely like fabricated number.
I think
Oh,
I
man.
came in one day. I don't know if I was mixing it up with TJ's birthday or 1206, and I came into jazz band one day and I said, happy birthday, Jeremy. Like, I'm gonna get him happy birthday,
Yeah.
and you're like,
I
there's
remember that.
December.
You turned around and you were like, happy birthday. And I'm like, thanks, man. But you're like 4 months too early.
I was really disappointed too. I'm like, I mean, thought he's gonna be impressed.
I was impressed, but not. Yeah. But then Lou, so when you came in, what was I remember you? We never really played in a band together, right? You and
No.
I? No.
I filled in for Clockwork for a little bit. So the funny thing is, when I did fill in with them back then, it was on bass.
Yeah,
And that was
because I wasn't in Clockwork. Yeah.
Yeah, and then
That was-
finally with so he played a show for my first band ever. So that was Nestaria, I believe. I just booked a show and didn't have anybody. So me and John went over the story where I showed up at his window and threw rocks at it to wake him up at like 6 a.m. Then I was the bass
True
player in
story.
Clockwork.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then we got him into level 6, like without even asking him to join. We kind of like got him to do us a favor and then just acted like he was already in it.
Yeah.
And then that started
And I
that
fell
group.
for it.
Yeah. He just accepted the phone calls, the invites. We told him when practice was. Like the favor just didn't stop.
Yeah.
And it
At some
worked.
Then you
point,
had
I'm paying for rehearsals too. I'm like, it doesn't feel like a favor anymore.
That was great.
And I remember you were you had the band Jack Frost, Mr. Jack Frost. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember one time, so I had that CD in my car, and I was driving. I was over by like Avenue N, by like what was the Chinese restaurant over there? Avenue N and like Ralph Avenue.
Avenue N and Ralph. I lived right there
Oh,
almost
Car?
my whole life.
Car?
Yeah, Cars on N.
Mhm.
Yeah. I was driving by there and I saw you, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna like put the CD on and blast it out of my speakers and drive back around the block. And I did it, but then by the time I got around the block, you were gone. I was like, oh, where did we?
Yeah, I moved fast because I always lived close to Canarsie. So I was always
Yeah.
on Flatlands Avenue and 55th. So anytime I came to hang out with all of you guys, I walked it to and from every day. So I got used to walking really fast.
But the last time I saw you was a couple of years ago, right? It was like 2014 or something like that. 14. Is it 14?
That must
When
have
you were
been
with Machine Elves.
That was the year. Yeah, yeah. And I ended up leaving Machine Elves right as I moved to Florida. So,
Yeah.
So I did. We finished up an album, and then unfortunately, I ended up leaving before we even did the album release.
No.
So they got somebody to fill in for me, and he was a monster of a guitar player. But yeah, so then I went back to college, and then that's when I contacted you pretty quickly after that. So yeah, I've only been back to New York, I think, once since then.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I
Where-
love
where
not
are you
being
now?
claustrophobic. I live in
Yeah.
Nashville now.
You're in Nashville now.
Yeah, and
Good town. I've been there.
I was traveling for work to a Salt Lake, and I've traveled around Georgia once or twice, stuff like that. But yeah, I love it over here. It's super quiet. And me and John were talking about since he just went upstate on that trip recently and came back. I had told him that when I got back to New York for a very short trip after being away for a few years, my nerves, the second I hit Staten Island, my nerves went through the roof.
Oh.
Because the ambient noise levels and just the traffic and potholes. And it was like a reverse culture shock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I left New York partially because I couldn't really handle the speed anymore and the congestion, and I get very claustrophobic very quickly. So, and then when I first moved, I couldn't sleep at night because it was too quiet. And then once I got back to New York, I felt like there were fireworks shows going on outside while I was trying to sleep.
Yeah. It's so weird. I get so weird coming from the city. Like I remember, like I'm a city boy through and through, right? Like I could be, I travel the country working on stuff, and like I could be in like any major city in like the worst neighborhoods, and the crew is on edge because there's like we're in weird areas where there's like sex workers and stuff like that, and drug dealers and everyone. And I'm just kind of like other people, But then we'll be in like some rural area, and I'll hear like a woo-hoo, and I'm like, what's that? What's like what is that? And they're like, that's just an owl. I'm like, can it kill me? Like, what's going on? I don't know what that is. Like, like I don't know animal sounds.
Yeah. It's a different world.
That's just a coyote. I'm like, coyote? Like, I don't know how to fight a coyote. I can talk my way out of a bad situation. I can't talk my way out of a coyote attack.
When I first started doing gigs in Salt Lake City, there were cougar attacks.
Oh yeah.
And I was scared out of my mind. I was like, oh my God, there's mountain cats in the US. I'm from Brooklyn.
It's crazy, yeah. You realize like you go to these places and there's things out there that could kill you and not even think about it, I'm like, no thanks.
It's part of the excitement.
Yeah. No.
Well, I won't get into the whole I saw a black bear in the forest by myself story. But, I did.
Let's hear it.
Well, okay. Just to make a long story short, I was on a camping trip. This was 2005, I think. Kind of one of those camping trips where there's a lot of experimentation going on with our mental state. Mostly harmless. Anyway, fortunately, I was sober. This was a Saturday, and I took a walk into the forest, and I just started going in, just kind of off the road, random, not even a trail, just going in. Then I had to go number 2, so I did that in the forest, used some leaves, so I really left my mark, if you know what I mean. And then I kept wandering deeper in. Yeah, it was. I just. Didn't know what else to do. And I didn't have my phone, or if I did, there was definitely no reception. This was in Pennsylvania near the Delaware Water Gap. I was on the Delaware River. And going in, start seeing these rocks, these really big rocks. I'm like, this is a little creepy. Like, looks like creatures could kind of hang out over there, like very big stones. Anyway, I started to kind of think, maybe I'm a little out of my league here and nobody knows where I am. And then I trying to ease my way out. Then I look back and I see something moving, and I don't know, let's say 30 feet away or something, I see a black bear kind of just like rummaging through the leaves or something. I'm like, oh no, like from toe to head, chills, like almost went to the bathroom in my pants again. And I was like, oh no. And the only thing I heard from my wisdom at the time was, you can't run away because it could chase you. And if you go, you can't climb a tree. I was a tree climber at that time because it can climb faster than you. It can run faster and climb faster. I'm like, the only thing you're supposed to do is fight it or try to scare it.
You could pet it.
Or play dead. And I was going to have a heart attack. So I'm like, there's no way I could play dead right now. And fortunately, it wasn't coming near me. So I found the biggest stick I could. And I was prepared to like get really big and like try to scare it. And I started backing away, and looking back. Fortunately, it wasn't chasing me. And then I'm like looking around the forest as I'm trying to find a way. I have no idea how to get out now. I'm going out a different way I came in. And I'm starting to see signs like, no trespassing, trespassers might be shot or something like that. I'm like, oh no, I'm really in hot water. And I'm looking at all the sides. I look back again, I see the bear kind of closer, but it wasn't chasing me. Then I saw, deer. I saw a bunch of other animals that each one freaked me out because of the noise. Chipmunks and whatever, birds. Anyway, I finally did get out, and I was on someone's property on a hill in Pennsylvania. And I'm like going closer to their house because I want to know how to get away. And as I'm walking closer, someone comes out on the balcony and says, "What are you doing here?" That's my memory. So they yelled at me like, "Get out of here!" And maybe I'm making that up. Maybe they helped me. I don't remember. Maybe they told me go that way or go away. I don't remember what happened. But I went the opposite way and found a road. And I didn't know where on the mountain I was, but I estimated and just kept walking down a hill, and came to the campsite again, and people like, or I looked different. I looked like a savage, probably. Like, what happened to you, man? And I was like, yeah, I told him the story, and it was a strange atmosphere around the campfire that night.
No.
So you stayed in the same spot, knowing that they were in the perimeter.
Yeah, but there was a road. We were at least across
Apparently,
the street.
I just had this conversation with somebody the other day, but apparently black bears are like
Pretty
the
safe.
least aggressive. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty.
But I think the most interesting part of the story to me is you say at the time I was a tree climber. Now, what made you a tree climber at this time?
Oh, I've got stories about him with that too.
I don't know. Because I think Modus Tolan's era, I probably wasn't a tree climber, but somehow I came into my own around 2004 or 5, and I just started deciding, like, I guess I was bored just hanging around, like we would hang out, and I'm like, I want to use my energy, and so I would just like run and try to climb a tree, and I got pretty good at it. And then at some point I stopped, but I was for a good 4 or 5 years a tree climber. I could climb like a lot of the trees in the neighborhood.
Where in the timeline was Modus Tollens to level 6?
Modus Tones was the end of 99 to the beginning of 2002, right?
Okay.
Spring 2002.
And
then,
yeah.
Because
then level 6 was actually the middle of 2003.
Okay.
Till the end of 2006.
Because I distinctly remember you went missing once to us in LA, and we found you in a tree. I remember that in Weed, California, you climbed a tree. And
definitely, yeah.
I'm trying to think. There was at least one other time that I remembered you just started hugging the tree, and it looked like it was going to start getting really uncomfortable, and then you ended up climbing it. But the tree hugging looked a little awkward at first.
Yeah, I started off as a tree hugger, and then got more into the tree climber thing. Yeah. So that between Modus Tollens and level 6 was a band called District 22, and Pencil People was kind of after District. It was kind of an overlapping thing. But anyway, this is about Jeremy, so let's get back to this.
This is all.
It's about us, but a shout out to a couple people. Daniel Douglas, who's watching over in New Zealand, I imagine. Oh. He was in Dirty Mother Nation, the bass player of that band. Dave Carduna, Lonnie, if he's still there. What's going on, guys? Hey. We didn't get into the early 2000s part. So we say Grim Reality, Sidonia, or Beauty and Chaos, Sidonia. So now it brings us to about when we met as Modus Tolan. So want to tell us a little bit about your memory of how that came together?
Yeah, I had graduated from Madison, from high school. And I did the summer program over at Berklee College of Music in Boston because I was supposed to go there. And the whole thing was I had to complete the summer program, and then I would get accepted, and then to the school, and I could go full time in the fall. So I did the program. I got accepted, but by the time I got accepted, they were already out of housing, and I couldn't really afford to get like my own place there. So I had decided, okay, I'll take a semester off and go in the spring rather. And then I just remember I remember it was the night before Thanksgiving. You, Dave Evans, and I went to Fast Lanes to jam. And that's when you brought some of your songs that would then later become Modus Tolan songs. And I felt like, I don't know if we decided that night that this band, the three of us, and these songs were like something special, but we definitely started jamming again, and then eventually was like, oh, this is going to be a band, like, right? And then J5 joined shortly after that, right? So we became the 4-piece.
Mm-hmm.
And then I decided, well, this band is really good, and I'm going to stay. I'm not going to go away to college, so I'm going to stay. There's another reason why I stayed also, but you know, won't get into that. But the band was the number one thing, and then we just it just kind of took on a life of its own, you know. And I think Modus Tones, if any band I was ever in was ever going to make it, as they say in the biz, like it would have been. I felt it would have been Modus Tones.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because I was in that band with you, who I've been in metal bands with before, and J5 and in metal bands with before. Dave we knew from school. Well, you knew Dave before Madison, right? You knew him from like elementary school or whatever, or from the neighborhood. And Dave was someone I played with, a long time in Madison, but never really outside of Madison, not outside of those situations. But I felt like the three of us just on that night, it just felt right, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. To add to that story a little bit, maybe jog your memory a little bit more. What I remember. Yeah. So you have you remember that Thanksgiving thing clearly, which helps. I didn't remember that clearly. But that makes sense to me too. And I could tell you, I have one archive demo recording that we did at Fast Lanes that Jason was the person recording it. He was like the engineer, just like messing with the board and stuff. But he wasn't in the band yet. That was on my birthday, December 22nd, 99. And we already had about 8 songs.
That was like a month after the first time we jammed.
Yeah. So I would say probably your instinct was correct that we decided that night that this was going to be a band or something. And because how would we get that many songs in a month, unless we started jamming frequently?
Yeah, that sounds right. I believe it.
And then, my hair was already cut, right? By the time we first met that first night?
I don't know if it was already cut that night. That I don't remember. I do remember like all of us going to like get our hair and like get makeovers one day.
Oh boy.
Do you remember that?
At a fancy
yeah.
I spent like $90 and I got blonde bleach blonde highlights.
Yeah, I think we all like I got like highlights also, and that's when they cut my I probably still have it somewhere. The guy braided my hair because I had long hair at the time, and then like put it in like a braid, one big braid, and then cut it, and then like gave it to me in like a plastic bag. I probably still have it somewhere actually.
Nice.
That ponytail. But yeah, I look at those pictures and I'm like, who is this idiot with these frosted tips and this like I'm almost like, who is this person?
It's great.
So
great.
Bizarre. The things we do for music, things we do for love.
Yeah. Right. Also, just a big shout out to Deanna Giordano, who is saying,
oh, hey.
Hi, everyone. Hey, Jeremy, she says.
It's going.
Hey, Deanna.
She's a guitar ensemble person, right?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And definitely a supporter. She's been checking out a lot of my shows. I know she was a supporter of you too. It probably came to some of our shows back in the day. I don't remember for sure.
Probably.
Yeah.
So just to let everybody know, real quick, I'm going to put the link to the Facebook Modus Tollens into the conversation here.
Oh, boy.
If anybody wants to check out these pictures, they're really good.
I don't even recognize me back then. Like it looks like a completely different person in those photos.
So the link is live in the conversation.
Oh, geez. Thanks, Lou. I appreciate that.
I had to. I started searching it. I said, there's got to be somewhere on here. They're still here. There's a digital footprint somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
And I found you guys.
I think Modus Tollens, I think things may have been a little bit easier or could have gone further if Modus Tollens was around the time of social media. Like, I just think because we were already like J5 was already kind of ahead with like the website and like some of the stuff he was doing for us on there. It was just a matter of like getting people to actually go there and see it, which later on social media would have made so much easier.
Yeah.
If we just would have stuck it out for 5 more years, who knows what would happen.
Yeah, who knows? Life would be different, that's for sure.
But yeah, Motorstones was interesting because we quickly went from like a 3-piece to a 6-piece.
Pretty quickly, yeah.
Pretty quickly. I just remember some of those.
Sorry, before we get to that, I want to just point out one thing. Because Lou was saying how when in his high school experience was pretty different than ours, right? He said he played lead guitar in this 4-man musical band in high school, in school itself. So, and he didn't have his like core friends, Justin, TJ, whoever else, that played with him. So whatever they did was musical things that they came up with of themselves without like the education bit, But as opposed to what our experience was very different because Dave, you and I played in James Madison bands together for years, kind of not knowing that it was leading us towards Motorstones. So we had a lot of the training in marching band. We had jazz band training and concert band. So by the time, and then whatever we did musically outside of that. So by the time we played, like we were able to say, okay, let's do hits here. Let's do, let's take it down. We knew dynamics. We knew how to do hits. So it was a very different style of a band. We knew how to like go into a funk jam. We could do a bunch of different, we had words. Let's vamp. We knew that meant, that was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, we definitely all spoke the same language and had a familiarity with each other, like we knew how each other would play things.
Right.
Which I guess which really kind of helped.
Thanks, John. Sorry, I didn't know how to vamp.
No, Lou, you are awesome. Period. Okay.
I didn't need to know how to vamp. All right.
Lou, if John ever quit Motorstones, you would have been our first call. So.
No, I get what you're saying. So when I went back to school specifically for theory and like to learn composing, there was a lot that I wasn't aware of at all. And I still wasn't in the same atmospheres as you guys to be playing in so many different band atmospheres, I just learned from the theory perspective and what were good octave ranges depending upon the instrument. And I actually started to learn how to actually stack things the correct way. And everything changed from there. So I can imagine you guys having learned your instruments together and matured together, constantly playing, especially on school time. That must have been really, really awesome.
Yeah, it was cool. By the time we got to that stage of, okay, let's jam together. I cut my hair. I'm writing singer-songwriter stuff. Jeremy did his intense training at Berkeley. I guess Dave Evans was finally willing to kind of do something musical with focus, and we got together. And also Dave, I'm sure, was happy that I was not focused on heavy metal because he never was a metal guy.
Yeah.
And I came in with this thing like, let's make it more of a jam, singer-songwriter thing. And he loved Dave Matthews Band at the time. And Jeremy was doing jazz as well as rock and metal. So true. Yeah, Lou was a big fan of
we all went through a Dave Matthews phase.
I still have 2 paintings of Dave Matthews on my wall. I mean, you can't see it from this angle. Maybe you could see a piece of it, but yeah, one of the photos in my window is Dave Matthews. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was cool. It was a cool experience.
Dave Matthews to me was kind of like the way Jeremy was describing Dream Theater before. To see musicians function on that level.
Oh yeah.
It almost feels like a different world when you watch people communicate like that and just jam through 10 minutes that never gets boring, and like the dynamic ranges and everything. It's like, wow, they're just on a different level of like a musical consciousness.
Yeah. Which I always loved about Dave Matthews was like they're some of the best musicians playing at the time, and they had such a popular, widespread appeal. But for some reason, that it hasn't been replicated, right? There hasn't been a band that's been technically as good as them, but also as big of a commercial success
as pop
as they were. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of weird how that kind of got lost in their kind of legacy. You know, they're kind of known now as, they're kind of like a punchline now, right? Like a lot of people think of them as kind of like a frat boy band, and but they're not. They were so much better than that.
Oh yeah.
Then I think that he was much better than like he sort of remembered for outside of musicians.
Yeah, well, they became so known for their live shows, and for most people that appreciated what they were doing, it was really their musicianship and just their kind of like that whole festival kind of feel that they had. But I remember when they did get popular, it was mostly college kids that liked smoking a lot of pot. So I think that kind of went mainstream, that was their audience. And I mean, I don't know if they exactly fizzled out. They still sell out shows everywhere.
Oh yeah, yeah. I guess I'm just not in touch with what's popular, what pop music is anymore.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm so out of touch with all of that.
Probably for your benefit.
Probably, yeah. People start talking about things, and I'm like, what is I'm like,
yeah. Modern music has detached itself from organic creation. You know, most of it's electronic now.
Yeah.
Like almost everything on the radio is at least 75% electronic, and then maybe a real bass on it or something like that. So I feel like the approach to creating the songs just organically have just changed. It's not the same type of person, musician, or the same type of approach.
Yeah.
So,
but it's interesting that Modus Tollins, you know, we kind of like ran with that whole Dave Matthews influence, you know, and
you guys did it really well too.
Thanks. I mean, I remember doing a couple of shows where people compared us to the Chili Peppers, which was cool, but like was not an influence on us, at least
not
consciously.
As a band.
Yeah,
I think because you guys had a little more of a rock edge to it.
It was rock, and there was a funk, there was a groove to everything.
Yep.
That people sort of associated with that.
A lot of clean tone sound.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I
man,
can see that.
I just remember love doing those live. The thing I miss most about playing is playing live. Like there's no better feeling than like doing a show at, you know, the Elbow Room or the Bank, or, you know, I still love to brag that I got to play CBGBs, you know, like, you know, yeah, obviously it wasn't in like the heyday of CBGBs, but hey, like I got to play it twice. All right, we played it as Modus Tollins.
We did?
Didn't we?
We played L'Amour as Modus Tollins.
We played L'Amour as Modus Tollins for sure. But didn't we play CBGBs as Modus Tollins? I know I played it with Sidonia. Or did I play it with you and Beauty and Chaos?
Probably Beauty and Chaos. Yeah. We played, I think you might be thinking about the Spiral, because it has almost the same layout as CB's. We played that as Modus Tollins.
See, I don't remember playing the Spiral.
So that's what it is.
But no,
but you do remember playing CB. It looks almost the same layout, and I have a recording of us playing the Spiral.
Oh yeah, I know. I for sure played. I played CBs with Sidonia.
Yeah,
and then possibly with you guys.
Yeah, maybe with us too.
It's definitely better for the nostalgia, because everything I remember of playing CBGBs was not happy.
The experience itself was not great.
Yeah,
it
wasn't.
Didn't sound as good as it, you know, you thought it was going to be on, you know, when you got on stage. And
oh, not at all.
Definitely didn't smell as good as you hoped it was going to smell.
No.
Have you guys seen that meme that says, I know that I'm definitely not at risk of COVID because I've used the bathroom here, and it's the CBGB's bathroom?
CBGB's, yeah.
One of my favorite memes was when lockdown first started. Someone sent me a picture of like a local band and said the governor mandates all local bands to play originals on the street to keep people indoors.
You would think that it might work. Oh my god.
That's hysterical.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the Elbow Room shows were always pretty great with Modus Tollens.
Yeah, those stand out as like pretty epic times.
Yeah,
Even
we
though,
had some pretty decent crowds at those shows.
Yeah, we would get.
And how can we forget about KK's?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that place.
Speaking of movies, right? That's something that would be in like a typical high school movie or TV show or something.
Yeah, but that place is very.
Bar.
Oh, I was drinking in that bar when I was 16.
Yep.
You know, like it was. Yeah,
Oh,
it's.
man. Yeah,
it's a very Brooklyn of the time place. You know, like. You know.
Yeah, that was. I remember those gigs, and like we didn't
Fire
have to worry.
hazards.
Oh, dangerous, definitely illegal stuff going on. In terms of how much underage drinking and.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anybody could see us except for the like 10 people in the near the back room. You know.
No, but we packed that place.
We packed
out,
those places,
man.
Pretty much every time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the second you left, you could have gotten a school special across the street.
Yeah.
At Avenue and Bagel, remember?
Yeah.
One slice of cheese, one slice of it was a ham and cheese, one slice of each on an everything bagel, and tons of mayonnaise. It was fantastic.
Oh, man, those are the days.
Yep.
Oh.
So Jeremy, what was some of your favorite memories of playing in Modus Tollens, for example?
I mean the shows.
The shows.
You know, I loved playing live. I wish we would have done it more. Because really the only time I practiced was to get ready for a show. like, you know, you needed that motivation.
Confessions of a bass player.
You know, like, I mean, I always practice, but like, there was definitely like, okay, there's a show coming up. You want to be on point, you know, like you really want to know these things.
Oh, yeah. Gives you that extra motivation.
Nail these.
Yeah.
Like, I just felt like, you know, going to rehearsal week after week with no like end goal was just kind of draining, you know.
Yeah, we had Josh Salant last month, and he's like, yeah, I don't think it makes that much sense to rehearse every week or twice a week. You know, it's like every 3 weeks or I forgot he had like a rhythm that made sense, but he had a similar idea. It's just like to rehearse for the sake of it is kind of a buzzkill.
Yeah, like unless you're gonna like working towards a recording or a show, like what's the point?
Yeah.
You know?
I think that kind of wears down bands a lot, like, and it brings a premature end to a lot of groups. Once you start feeling like weighted that every Tuesday you have to get together, but there's no goalpost to aim for. Like you don't have a show booked, you're not working on a new album, and then everybody starts feeling like they're kind of nailed to that schedule, whether they want to do it or not. Because that's when it gets really boring.
And then it's like, you know, some members will, you know, if a member's like, oh, you know, like there's nothing coming up, I'm going to skip this Tuesday, you know, rehearsal, then that creates animosity within the band, right? Like, oh, well, we're all here, but you can't make, you know, it's like, but yeah, hindsight, I get it now, you know, like, you know.
Yeah, it's more like a marriage with no goalpost.
Yeah.
It's like,
but you're married, like, you're married to 4 other people.
Yep.
Yeah, it was not easy. I can't believe I did that over and over again.
Yeah, no, it's tough, man. It's you know,
it's a roller coaster.
Yeah, I do get the experience of like tour life to an extent now. Doing what I do. Only we actually do get to like stay in nice hotels in our own rooms. You know, we're not packing, you know, 5 guys and equipment into a hotel room.
Right.
You know, with 2 beds, you know. So that's nice.
Those were rough days.
Yeah. Well, I never really experienced that. I never did I was never in a band that toured, you know. I know you guys had that with Level 6, right? You guys did
a bit,
some of that.
It was both the high point and the low point at the same time.
Yeah, of course.
You know, the greatest memories come from that. But yeah, like the general just uncomfortability of the situation just kind of makes you really grumpy. Like I remember us when we did that short tour in the dollar van we rented, and nobody from outside of New York's gonna understand what that is, but we'll go into that another time. But yeah, when we had to like leave the show real quick and go on an immediate 6-hour drive, and you're trying to like even nap for a couple of minutes, and you're slumped on your buddy's chest, and like your neck is all crimped, and like, oh, it gets rough. It's like too close for comfort, you know?
Oh yeah.
And you can't afford to do any better. So you just kind of try and roll with the punches, and then a lot of just arguments just off of being grumpy.
Yeah.
But then the greatest stories come from that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man. I remember being the most annoyed at some band members on that brief tour on the Northeast coast there, and just like, you know, glad I had the chance, because like I got to know, like, man, I really don't want to do this, you know, for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
What a nightmare that. And you know, because we had like we didn't have a record deal on the table. We did have management deal or something like that, right around that time, Lou.
Yeah,
that we almost signed. I mean, thank goodness we didn't sign it. That would have been awful, because then we have to get out of it, you know, or because things towards the end of that level 6, to my memory, and not to put it, it just wasn't like we weren't enjoying each other's company. So what's the point of stretching that out, you know?
Yeah. But I think we would have enjoyed each other's company a lot more had we all been in the same kind of direction. I think once you start looking to make it, and you start kind of obeying to what the business wants you to do, is when the interests start kind of taking effect, and then getting people very grumpy. Because I remember the stuff we started writing because of the style that Sylvia wanted to go in, I started getting very bored with. Because I was always kind of very into the whole Faith No More thing of like, write one song that sounds like this and write a total another song that sounds like that. And then once we started writing everything at 180 BPM, I was I was getting just really annoyed by it, and kind of trapped in, and like, oh man, like I don't want to write that. I want to write something completely different. And yeah, and everybody kind of has all of a different take. And then you mix that with, you can't afford to do any better, so you got to sleep on your buddy's stomach. It's like, all right, this has been a rough day.
Yeah. So Jeremy, without dredging up any unnecessary dramas, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced in being in a rock band or any band? Just like, you know, as general as you can keep it, you know, just
personalities, you know.
Go for the lead singer.
Yeah. Well, lead singer. Well, yeah. I mean, Modus Tollens. You know, we were a 6-piece band with 6 very different personalities. And I think, you know, in hindsight, like, we were all pretty reasonable, but you know, we were also young and dumb, and like didn't really know how to be humans yet when interacting with each other. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's the hardest part of like any collaborative effort. You know, I see it now in some of the things that I do. It's like trying to appease everybody. Everybody wants their sort of stamp on things, and it's hard. You know, it's hard. You know, trying to compromise with people who really feel strongly about their opinion. So,
yeah, one thing I remember from, I must have been every band that I was in, but definitely I remember it in the Modus Tollens days. Without saying names, I don't actually remember names. You know, who said what, but just the vibe of like, because we were 6 people. How hard is that to have 6 people agree on the direction, you know, without a leader, you know, without like, this is what we're going to do, guys. Okay. And then everyone says, yeah, we didn't have a leader. No one officially was a leader. So everyone had to okay it. So you could have 5 guys say, yeah, we got to do this show, or let's do this promotion campaign, or yeah, maybe let's make a t-shirt or whatever, merch or something. And one guy says, no, I'm not feeling it. then you're dead in the water, and then you got
Yeah.
to come up with some other thing. You know, that sucks so much, right? When that type of thing would happen, you know,
Oh yeah.
or you twist the guy's arm to do it, and then his mood is off. You know, it's like, sheesh. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
tricky.
That was
Tricky.
definitely an issue in every band I was in.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody, some people didn't like doing shows every week. I was always of the mindset of like, I'd rather like do a show every week or several times a week and play for 10 people rather than do like a show once every 2 months for 50 of our closest friends and family. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather play for strangers who could potentially become fans rather than like our friends and moms and dads and cousins and that were going to come anyway.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, and I remember that. Yeah, and that was not the dominant feeling of the band, so we didn't do that. But I definitely felt too that if we played more often, we could have built a following, you know. But we
yeah,
didn't.
or we could have burned ourselves out also.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
We don't
For sure.
you know
Yeah, because there's no guarantee. Like REM, I think they said they started playing, and all of a sudden they had like 100 people at every show. Great, but not all bands have that fortune.
yeah.
You know,
Is that how they
so
started?
they started out playing college parties or something, and like they just had a following right away for some weird reason.
Really?
So they just kept doing it. Yeah.
And I also feel like we sort of came up at a time where obviously we didn't have like social media or the internet to like promote these shows, and then there wasn't like a venue that we can get booked at where there was a guaranteed audience. Like we kind of missed that. I mean, maybe there's places that I don't know about, remember, but like like in the CBGB's heyday, like you can go there any night of the week and see killer bands, right? Like, and there'd be a crowd. Like any band could play there any night of the week, and there would have been a crowd. I feel like we didn't have that place, like
Right.
the elbow room wasn't pumping on a Wednesday night, you know,
No.
regardless of who was playing there.
Yeah. No, we came into the pay to play era. We were like
Yeah.
at the cusp of that. Like I would say, from what I know, like 80s, certainly in LA, from the documentaries I've seen, there was a time when just like people just went out to clubs all the time. So if you played a club, you'd have an audience. But
Yeah.
I don't know how the history of New York was exactly, but I'm sure there must have been some point where it was more possible to have a natural audience. But certainly in our time and after, it's you got to drag the audience out yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, there wasn't that place where people knew like, oh, if I show up at this place tonight, I'm going to hear a good band. Like people went to places to go see a band rather than went there to hang out there,
I think all of us bands around that time kind of suffered because we only had in New York City, and I tell people outside of New York that we only had one rock station, and they look at me like I have 10 heads.
Yeah.
It was almost as though, and now rock music really almost doesn't exist. Like you have a few that have hung around, but other than that, every new rock group that comes up, like Fall Out Boy, is actually a pop group that plays guitar occasionally. But they have the electronic element. They have all the pop elements. But I think around the time that all of us were still doing music and stuff, it just it was fading. New York itself was just playing mostly hip hop and R&B, and that was the biggest scene in New York. And
yeah,
none of the younger people were really going out for that. They were going to regular bars with DJs.
Yeah.
So I feel like we all kind of got robbed a little.
We did. We would be if times were different. We'd all be rock stars. We wouldn't be. We'd be doing a behind the music right now, not this.
Right. And one of us would be dead.
Yeah.
One. That's a low number.
One.
Right. Well, he's probably two. Jeremy would be surviving. So we have Deanna says reunite with a lot of exclamation points. And then 92.3 K Rock, she says, in Dream Theater.
Yeah. Yeah. 92.3, that was like our only like rock station, with the exception of like 95.5 WSOU, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Which like came in occasionally, staticky, because it was, this like South Jersey or Central Jersey college radio station,
Mhm.
which is like a Christian college, but like their metal, their radio station's metal.
Yeah.
Like that's where I discovered like, um, Amorphous and My Dying Bride and like, those bands.
Mhm.
But yeah, we had K Rock, and then we had like what was the classic rock station?
Q104.3.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Do those even exist anymore? Like I don't even know what's on those radio stations. I haven't listened to like regular radio.
I know they had. I
So
thought
long.
they had stopped before I moved.
I think K Rock is still on. At least as a couple years ago. They
Yeah.
were. I think so.
But as far as like reuniting, like, we attempted that, right? In 2011. We tried to do.
Was that 2011?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so, because I was in Japan in 2011. So maybe I think it was 2010.
2010. Yeah, whenever that
Yeah.
was, because we
Yeah.
did the when we recorded the drums for the Beauty and Chaos thing.
Right. Shortly before that, we did a Modus jam, right?
Yeah, which didn't go so great.
Yeah. I
remember
mean, it was
correctly.
fun, but
It was fun, yeah.
But there
It
was.
was
I
definitely
think
what
I
we-
have a recording. I think we recorded that.
Probably, but yeah. I don't want to hear it though.
I have no desire to hear it, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just remember, it was around that time where like we were all turning 30 and getting nostalgic and
Mhm.
going, let's do it again.
Mhm.
Wow, nostalgic. And it was like a decade ago already.
Yeah,
yeah, right.
Now we're all pushing 40.
Wow.
And it's,
Mhm.
and we still haven't finished that recording.
Right.
You're taking your time.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Reuniting. I've had my taste of jamming with people and older configurations, and what I discover is that basically what it comes back down to is it ended for a reason.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
It's like getting back together with an ex, right? It's like,
Yeah,
oh
it
yeah,
really is.
this ended for a reason. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what it is. That's the feeling.
No. I do hope that I do get to play live again one day. Like I hope that the last time I played live in 2003, maybe, isn't the last time I ever do it. Like hopefully I'll, in some form or another, get to be on a stage again, playing bass.
I'm sure you will.
Probably not, but yeah. I hope so.
Yeah.
He's trying to get you, John.
He's
trying to guilt you.
I mean, for me to do that it would take so much work on my end to get ready to do something like that. Like I just don't know if I have the time or the passion to do it.
I've got to tell you, like, so the last TV show I was working on in Utah, the show writer wanted to do a band and play at the release, the viewing party. And so that was the first time I had played a gig in about 6 years. And I haven't played one since. And like specifically from the load-in time, I realized at that exact moment why I don't do it anymore.
Oh yeah.
It clicked immediately, hauling the amplifier inside with no help. And I was just cursing to myself, going, oh my, I'm just too old for this shit.
Yeah. I do that. So, I mean, I do that very similar stuff now, right? I'm loading in cameras and lights and stuff like that. The biggest difference is I'm getting paid to do it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And you're behind the scenes too, right?
Yeah.
That kind of helps maybe.
And it's like, oh, this makes this much easier, knowing that I'm going to get a paycheck at the end of this.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah. It's definitely different.
You know?
So Deanna says that Q104.3 apparently is still going. K-Rock is done.
No.
And she wants to know if you still have a ponytail, Jeremy.
No, although this quarantine, I haven't gotten a haircut, so it might be coming back.
Oh, I like it. Nice.
I did cut the beard recently, which it's been an adjustment for me.
Yeah. We all have mild beards right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like up until like a week ago, my beard was like down to here. 2 weeks
Oh
ago.
yeah.
That, yeah. So
Yeah, some look different there. That
Yeah.
and your extended hair in the back.
yeah,
That's
because
what was-
now that I'm working and like having to like wear a mask all day while I'm working, like wearing the mask and a full beard
Oh yeah.
for 15 hours is not fun in
Mm-hmm.
the summer. So
Yep.
Or period.
yeah, I was like, okay, this has got to come off.
Hmm.
So I look younger, maybe. I don't know. I hope.
Yeah, I would say so. A long ass beard definitely makes people look older.
Yeah.
Rip Van Winkle. All right, so let
Yeah.
me go back to some questions here.
Okay.
So you said your favorite aspect of being in a rock band was performing.
Yeah. Because it was the only time we weren't arguing. You know?
This is a good interview.
Yeah.
Me and him think really alike.
That's funny. Actually, ironically, I was going through my archives today and digitizing cassettes, and I did one from Level 6 and one from Modus Tones today, maybe subconsciously preparing for this. So in the Level 6 one, Lou was, I won't say who, but Lou was irritated at this rehearsal and making up lyrics about another band member, obnoxious lyrics to a song that we were like working on. So I guess he was being asked to create lyrics, so he was making up semi-nasty lyrics about one of the band members.
Oh, what was the term we were talking? I was vamping, bro.
Oh, you were
I was vamping.
right. Yeah, definitely were.
Don't piss off the singer. He has a microphone.
Yep. And it's loud.
Yeah. And then during the Modus Tones one, didn't hear too much. It was we were in a good mood that day. There wasn't really arguing, but there was just a lot of like you could tell we were a little giddy, like so we were like being really nice to each other. So like to get the recording done well, because we were that was the one that became the familiarization project.
Oh, okay.
So that was September 21st, 2000.
Wow.
And that was a pretty good recording. Some of the songs didn't come out so great, but some did, and we put that out as a CD, a demo.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Mm-hmm. Gone is on that
decent
version of it.
Oh, I can't wait. So you digitized that today?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'll start to put stuff online or in a Google Drive for you, and Lou, I'll get that up there too.
Oh yeah.
The praying song is on there.
Real? That was like our first song.
Yeah, that must have been early because we did Love is a Myth, and it was noisy, and my guitar solo was really like totally whatever. So it was not honed at all, I would say it must have been early 2004.
So I was already that aggravated with you guys. That's wow.
I remember. Yeah. I guess so. Okay, so Deanna says that cool music tattoo, John. Thank you, Deanna, and that she would have gone to our shows in high school days, but her mom was overprotective and did a letter, so I guess she wasn't attending those shows. Well, you were there in spirit, Deanna, and you're here now, so that's what counts.
That's it.
So, would it be fair, Jeremy, to say that you were chasing the rock star dream for a good portion of your youth?
Yeah, I would say so. That was the goal from 13 to 23, I guess, right? Like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna be a rock star. Like that's why, didn't have any sort of backup plan. Didn't have, I was like, oh, it's inevitable. Like this is what's gonna happen.
Right.
And obviously it wasn't. It was all just a dream.
Yeah, which is, hey, when we look back and if you look and see other rock stars whose life ended short or whose life became a mess, we could see that it really, it really is a dream. Some people can somehow manage some semblance of balance, but really can't be
Yeah.
balanced and live that type of life, I believe,
Yeah. And there's like no regrets. There's no, like, I never think about like, oh man, like I wish this would have happened. Like, because I'm so happy with what I do now. Like, it's like, all the other stuff, the music and stuff. Music will always be my first love, like, like I feel like music put me on this path of creativity and doing what I'm doing now. So like I kind of owe it all to music, but like, I don't look back and be like, man, if we just would have made it,
Right.
like there was a point where I did do that, right? Like, there's probably a point where I was pretty bitter about, Modus Tones not being together anymore. But in hindsight, I'm just like, oh, that's the way it was supposed to happen. And like, I feel like we're all kind of doing what we're supposed to be doing,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, I could relate. Yeah, there's some part of, I guess it's a bitter pill, like kind of like spinach or some sort of like healthy thing that's not so fun that you have to eat,
Yeah.
But yeah, because now I look at it and where all our lives are, let's say Modus Tones or any band really, and I say, well, this is who I am, and I like the people that, I it seems that other people who I've played with are in a place that they're happy with in their life. So good,
Yeah.
Well, I would
Sorry,
also think that oh, sorry, John, that you would definitely agree, because me, going into film has been somewhat recently, and I know you've been doing it for a long time. That job comes with a lot of the perks that I was looking for when I was in a band. Like,
Yeah.
I think that my search for being a rock star was a lot shorter than most because I never wanted to be a frontman, and I was always angry that I fell into that. But
Not really.
yeah, I didn't really enjoy it all. It was too much pressure, too much heat, and you're trying to be something that you're not. So it just, at least in my case, I was. And I felt like once I started getting into kind of the film industry, every day was a puzzle. Every single change in scene, change in angle, the camera guys, they love pulling focus. They were always pulling focus, trying to come up with new ideas. I was always trying to like sneak the boom pole in or wire the person a different way because it's coming from this angle. And I think the creative part of it, the spontaneity of it, like taking gigs on 2 days notice,
Oh yeah.
and traveling was all part of why I wanted to be in a band. I mean, I wanted to be in a band mainly because I loved music the most, but I felt like, once you get paid also doing a lot of freelance film gigs, you're compensated well enough that you get all of the good parts of a lot of why you would be in a band mixed with the fact that you're being compensated pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like, I take a lot of jobs for the pay, obviously, but then there's also things that you kind of do just for the fun of it, like because you want to be part of the project, also, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've worked on a couple of projects with people, with friends, developing stuff that, is almost like being in a band.
Yep.
Like, John, you saw my the Six Most Metal Breweries, project. Like that whole like working with those two guys, with Adam and Derek, on that was the closest to being in a band I've ever, since Modus Tollens, that I've been in. We're all sort of fighting for this same creative product in the end, and we all have maybe slightly different ideas of how to get there, and a lot of compromising, a lot of I wouldn't say arguing, but I would say arguing. It's tough, but but in the end, when it all comes together, it's like, oh, this was so worth it. For a project that you're passionate about, a project that you're putting your soul into, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, and especially in your role as a DP. I mean, you're the main guy responsible.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure on that, right? It's like, okay, it's like you have the director, but it's your idea to, it's your job to bring the director's vision to life. And there's a lot of creativity in that. There's a lot of technical aspects to it, and it's great. I love it. It's and I'm so glad I kind of stumbled into this. Like I literally after Modus Tones, after I left Modus Tones, I had been in college for 2 years at that point as a music major, and sort of everything around music sort of fell apart for me. So I left Modus Tones, and then I kind of got fed up with school, the music program at school, because they had this sort of attitude of like, if it's not a jazz musician, they're not a good musician type of attitude.
Wow.
And I just kind of, and it wasn't even like, I mean, like it's a good school, the music program was good, but I just didn't like that attitude. And like, so music sort of like, I felt like music failed me at that point. So I kind of quit and kind of gave up on it. And about 2 years later, I decided like, okay, it's time to go back to college. Like I was working at a job that I didn't really like. And I was like, okay, I need to go back to college. Like, and I literally was like, what would be easy? Right? Like what would be an easy major? And so I was like, well, I already have all these credits at this school. So let me go back to that school. And I was like, oh, film television studies. That should be easy. And I wasn't wrong. It was easy. Like the actual course load and like just like getting by and like getting my degree was not hard. I mean, it was hard like logistically, and I was working full time and like all these things happening in life. It was hard, but the actual work that was required was not hard until I got out of there, started working in the industry, and I was like, oh, I wasn't prepared for this. Like,
yep.
Like this is like super long hours, dealing with lots of personalities, dealing with people who don't know what, dealing with people like me at the time who didn't know what they were doing, to dealing with people who have been doing this forever and have a clear idea of what they're doing and not afraid to tell you that you're doing it wrong. Like it was, but like, and then I just sort of stumbled upon camera work and just sort of had that same love. The first time I like was handed a camera, like it felt like the first time like I held a bass. Like it was like, oh, this feels right. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. So
cool. That's definitely a powerful experience. I didn't know that aspect, that part of your journey. Deanna says, I understand totally, Jeremy. I'm totally about that. I'm guessing that was about when you got frustrated with music, maybe. I'm not sure when that comment came in. Yeah, because one of my questions actually was, how's your transition been from rock band bass player to freelance director of photography and camera operator?
Yeah, well, it's I get paid to to be a camera operator. That's the biggest difference.
Right.
But yeah, it's so funny though, and Lou, you could you're an example of this too. There are so many musicians in this industry, like the crew that I'm on, my director. So on this job I'm on now, I'm a camera operator, and then I'm working for a director of photography who's also a guitar player, and then our sound guy is also a musician, is also a guitar player. Like we all sign, so, and we all get along, and it's great. But yeah, I think music kind of, like everything we do, there needs to be a rhythm to it. There needs to be, a pacing to what we do, and like coming from a musical background sort of helps with all of that, and also helps in communicating with people and talking to people who understand the language and understand, like when you're talking about a scene and what the rhythm of the scene is, like okay, like musicians kind of get that.
Yep. And it shares, like I mentioned before, it shares a lot of things for a creative person, the stereotypical creative person. A lot of your job requirements are very similar to that of being in a band or anything in entertainment, really. A lot of the gigs just come up real quick, and you have to be the type to just pick up and fly and not be concerned about that. And I don't know with the gigs that you've been on, the level of preparation, but the ones that I've seen were kind of like maybe a number of the team have been, getting together sporadically for maybe a month ahead. They're trying to get locations and they're trying to lock stuff in, but it was the most spontaneous work I've ever had outside of being in a band. Like, it was the closest experience to that exact thing of like, okay, we have this location for 12 hours. We have to get this done.
Yeah.
And it is the total opposite of an office job. It is the total opposite of people having things laid out already. Even the film team, they'll kind of look at the storyboard and they'll be like, okay, now how can we get those shots? Because we're talking about it today and we're shooting it today. And then as the sound guy, you're kind of responding to them and going, okay, you have 2 cameras, you have 3 cameras. Where are your lights? Like, where am I going to fit this? And it's a constant puzzle.
Yeah.
And it just does not stop. And it's just very quick. So the personality has to be very similar to that of a musician that would want to go on the road with no money and find excitement in that kind of life.
Yeah. There's definitely, a lot of improvisation that comes on that you do on film sets, even when you plan for stuff, you have your storyboard, you get all this, and then you scout the location, and then you get to the location just to find out that they remodeled the day before your shoot. And you're like, oh wait, there were lights, there was a window here yesterday. Where's, it's or you get there and like the person who was supposed to bring certain equipment, they forgot it, they didn't bring it, or there's there's always something that we're improvising around and trying to get done. And then I think the biggest thing about comparing like being on a set to like being in a band or being on a film crew, being in a band, is it's collaborative, right? It's no one person's thing, as much as some people might think it is. It's really like we all rely on each other. Like, I can't do my job if the sound person isn't doing what they're supposed to be doing. I can't do my job if the lighting person isn't doing what they're doing. And then if you're dealing with something scripted, like you're relying on the actors knowing their lines, you're relying on the director knowing what the context of these lines are. It's all collaborative. It's so hard to do. That's why, like, I'll do some jobs where it's just me and a second camera, and like we're doing our own sound, and like that's always a big source of frustration. Like having a dedicated person to just focus on sound, is, it's like, okay, you're going to play drums and keyboard. Yeah, people do it, but like, it'd be better if you had 2 different people doing it and concentrating on those things,
It's one of the most overlooked things. And I think the sound team is like the redheaded stepchild of film, because of course the film is the most important thing. Man, they really they knock you out sometimes, like a football game.
Yeah,
they knock
it's
you
the
out
first
of the
thing.
way and...
When they're trying to save money, it's the first thing they try to cut is sound. And like I tell people all the time, I'm the camera guy. Like that's, you would think that I would think like picture is the most important thing, but no. Like, I honestly, people will forgive bad picture, but if they can't hear the dialogue, they can't hear what people are saying, they're going to tune out. They're going to change the channel. They're going to skip it, whatever it is.
Or the following project when they realize what the ADR bill is.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No,
they
get it
realize
right
they
on
don't
set.
have those lines. Yep.
Yeah. I always tell people, like, if you have $100 to make a film, give that $100 to the sound guy. Like that's going to make or break your project, is the sound.
Yeah, I had I guess I'll say this because I got you here. I had a very unique experience because straight out of the college, I literally went to a post-production studio. So there I started getting into, dialogue editing, Foley. So I saw everything that was coming from set. And a lot of the talk in those studios is kind of like, man, how'd the sound guy not get that? Like, why didn't they ask somebody to shut the generator? Like, we're sitting there making fun of them. Like, I can't believe they sent this audio. This is garbage. And then through that studio was how I got my gig going to Salt Lake. And then I got to be the person that was on set. And I immediately understood. Like, it took a week. And I immediately realized, like, wow, some of this audio we got was the best they could have done.
Yeah.
There was nothing else they could have done in this situation.
Yeah. So I preach to everybody when anybody talks to me about like wanting to get into this industry or do what they do, do what I do. I was fortunate enough, and like once again, like I stumbled upon it. I didn't plan it this way, but like I came through post production. Also, I came through, editing and then post production managing and stuff. And I think that that is the best way to go, even for sound. Like knowing how to handle what comes in from set in post, and knowing what there's that old saying, oh, we'll fix it in post. Well, that's a real thing. But you have to know what can be fixed in post and what can't. And what can't. And it's so important that, and like knowing how to edit will make you a better shooter. It'll make you a better director. It'll make you a better lighting person. It'll make you a better hair and makeup person. Like knowing what happens to this footage at the end of it can help dictate everything that happens before it,
Yeah.
And I always preach that to people. Start in post. People ask me where should they start? I say start at the end.
Yeah, because you completely understand what you can replace, and then you'll see situations where there's no hope in this. We better get this no matter what. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at John.
He's lost. Yeah, I'm following. I mean, I've had enough experience making videos to know that if I don't catch that certain thing, trying to make up for it is just wasting time later on.
Yeah.
So, I don't know it on the level that you guys know it, but I can understand the importance of prioritizing what needs to be done and what needs to be done again, that type of thing, and what doesn't.
Yeah.
That's certainly a learning curve. I'm sure you have to trial by fire type of thing. You just got to learn as you go.
Oh yeah. The only way you learn is by making mistakes.
Yep. And there's no way to be prepared for that. Just the speed of it. I mean, you show up for the first day and it's like they give you the call sheet. They'll give you the script real quick. And it's like, okay, we got to get the first scene up in about half an hour. And you're like, what? And you're looking for where your equipment is. You're hauling it over to where the shot is. It could be in the total opposite end of the building. It's just like, and it's a race. And, as the sound guy, like I said before, it's not just the cameras too, because we had situations where the makeup people had to keep kind of like a wet look. And we would have already mic'd people with lavs, and they're just spraying these people down. And you're talking about a $250 lav mic tucked in somebody's shirt, and it's drenched now.
Oh, yeah.
And you only have a certain amount of those in your kit. And every time one of them breaks, that kind of doesn't make you look very good. So, there's so many elements and so many things that can go wrong. And so many different shadows. The lighting can change at the last second. So if you had your boom in one shot, now the boom's going like creating a shadow across the face. Now you got to be across the room, pulling in 20 feet. It's like, wow. It's constantly evolving by the second. And you just have to, you either love it or you absolutely hate it.
No.
So
I can imagine, I think my age and not that age is a big deal. My state in life, especially with diabetes, like I feel like, I just can't trust myself to go as long and just like go anymore. Everything, I have to plan so many things out so I don't dip all of a sudden. I don't think I would be able to do that type of job, That's just my sense. I'm sure the diabetics who know how to do it. But I just feel like where I'm at, I wouldn't be able to.
A lot of productions have
so much.
Have crafty trucks. You can always get a bag of Skittles as quick as possible.
Yeah. Even on there's always snacks around. Mm-hmm. That's one thing.
Yeah. Yeah, they make sure you're ready to work 15, 16 hours.
They don't want you leaving to go get anything. So they make sure it's all brought to you.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, speaking of which, I just got my call sheet for tomorrow, and I have to start work at 7:30 a.m. tomorrow.
Okay, so we better wrap this up pretty soon.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take you into the last question or two.
Sure.
All right, so let's go towards the philosophy bit here. This is music, philosophy, and more. We've covered music and more.
And more. Now it's just philosophy.
Yeah. So there's a couple of questions, but how about this one? What is one of the greatest lessons you've learned along your journey that keeps you positive, upbeat, and moving forward?
Oh, oof. I don't know. Lessons. I've learned a lot of lessons by making mistakes. um, yeah, it's just I don't know. I don't know if I could say it, but I could say like kind of the most important thing is sort of patience and being ready for in my industry, like we were just saying, like anything can be thrown at you at any minute, and just being flexible and not holding on to a schedule too tightly, you know,
Mhm.
because it changes and it changes rapidly, and just be ready. Um, yeah, I don't know if there's any one incident that I could think of that makes me say, "Oh yeah, this," you know.
Well, yeah, sure. I guess it's a sort of a grace in that, like, kind of the opposite of the 9 to 5 thing, which is like, I don't know what tomorrow's going to look like, and that's kind of refreshing, so you don't feel like
Yeah.
you're beholden to like a fixed thing. Maybe I'm kind of asking, but
Yeah.
Isn't it
Like
kind of
even
like a double-edged sword? It's
Oh yeah.
insecurity mixed with excitement because it always changes, but at the same time, it's an insecurity because you don't know what's going to happen next week.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's it makes it tricky to, make plans to, you know, hold on to relationships. It's like give you an example of, my day on Friday. You know, Friday I woke up in Wilmington, Delaware, thinking, "Oh, we're going to wake up, we're going to drive to New York, and we're going to be in New York for the weekend." And we started heading towards New York. We stopped for gas, not too far from the hotel. And then it was decided that, oh, well, we need to be in Charlotte, North Carolina on Monday. So why don't we just drive there now? And it's like, okay, so it's prepared for a 2-hour drive to Brooklyn and ended up doing a 10-hour drive to Charlotte, North Carolina, on a whim.
right, yeah.
you know, so yeah, just always being prepared. So always be prepared.
Cool. Are there any? Yeah. So 2 more questions. Well, actually, 3 quick questions. Are there any setbacks you'd feel comfortable to share in which music has helped you to pull through? In which music has helped you to pull through? If not, that's fine.
I used to remember when you got sad, you'd listen to a Warrant, Cherry Pie.
No, it's funny. When I get sad, I listen to the saddest music you find. I listen to a lot of My Dying Bride when
My God.
when I'm feeling down. It's like how much lower can I get? Let's see. No, it's yeah. 11 minutes of that. They do have some really great albums though. They have like 15 studio albums and they're all
Wow.
really good. Yeah. Maybe more than that. But anyway, but it's funny to think that like, my biggest sort of setback in life was due to music, right? Right. It was like I was going to be this rock star. Modest Tones was going to be the next big thing, and then like that kind of fell apart. And then like everything around music for me kind of fell apart. But I never let it I never blamed the music. I never lost my love for it. So I don't know. I don't know if I just used that love for music and that passion and that drive that I had for music and just redirected it in this time of. Well, I didn't. It took me a little while to find that direction. But music's just always been there for everything. Whatever mood I'm in, whatever setback I have, like there's always a song or band or something I can do, or even just grabbing the bass and just going at it with no direction, no focus, just it's kind of a stress ball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like earlier today, like I'm like sitting in this hotel room and like listening to music, and I'm like, damn, I wish I had a bass with me just to like fiddle around. Not that I could, play along with the song that I was listening to, but maybe I could have. But like just to have that, that outlet, that in the hands.
Mm-hmm.
I had intentionally, just to let you know, they make a lot of these Martins. They
Mm-hmm.
do 3/4 dreadnoughts, and they're built so they could fit in the overhead of a plane specifically.
Oh yeah.
And I
Oh.
bought one exactly when I started getting into the business, just so that wherever I had to be, I could kind of just bring it along with me.
Yeah, I've thought about picking up like one of those like uke basses,
Mm-hmm.
those ukulele basses. But I travel with so much equipment that it's like another thing to travel with is like,
Right.
Yeah.
That could get damaged, right?
Yeah, that will get damaged.
Mm-hmm.
So
Nick Scarboni says hello, by the way. Hello, Jeremy.
hey, Nick.
So hey Nick, how you doing? So yeah, okay. So basically music has just gotten you through a bunch of things, and I'm sure it will continue to.
It's
matter
been the
what.
only constant in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's always there when I've needed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Particularly metal.
Right. Mm-hmm. So all right. Can you share any inspiring books, films, or shows that you'd like to recommend to our listeners, especially, I don't know, let's say people who are feeling down in lockdown, feeling frustrated or stuck or depressed or something? Anything that would be inspirational or at least fun?
Ooh. I don't know about inspiration. I really like, I use TV and movies as more of an escape, sort of mind numbing things. And because of the work I do watch a lot of true crime. So I don't recommend watching that in quarantine.
No.
I don't know. Was a really good, inspiring movie. One of the movies from last year that I really enjoyed, and I guess it's kind of inspiring, is the movie Ford versus Ferrari. If you guys have seen that, it's
Was that with Christian Bale
and Matt Damon? Yeah, it's about the time Ford decided they were going to build a car to beat Ferrari at Le Mans, which is like a big race. And not to give away spoilers, but they don't do it on the first try, but they don't give up. Yeah.
Cool.
I can give you some ideas. Yeah. Maybe Requiem for a Dream.
I've never. It's embarrassing enough. I've never actually seen Requiem for a Dream.
Really?
I know it's one of those movies that I've been meaning to watch and just never got around to it.
It can definitely inspire you to just be a better person in general.
Yeah,
you should see that.
If you got this far in your life without it, I think you're good. You don't need to go back.
Yeah.
There are other classics. The Human Centipede.
That is a classic. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. John loved that one.
Reanimator is always one of my go-tos for uplifting.
So for anyone who takes things literally, these guys are not being literal.
We're not being literal at all. I will. Oh, I always recommend when people ask me like, "What's your favorite movie of all time?" People expect you to say like, Citizen Kane or some, I don't know, other big famous movie. But my favorite movie of all time, it's not the best movie of all time, but my favorite movie of all time is RoboCop. It's relevant today, maybe more than ever, but it's also just like nostalgia reasons and just a very cool movie.
Not the remake, right?
Not the remake, the original.
I'd buy that for $1.
1987, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Peter Weller, yeah.
That was a great movie.
Great movie.
Yeah, I mean, I remember being moved by it. I saw it a few times, and it was I would be afraid to watch it. That heartbreaking opening scene.
Oh yeah,
just like tore me apart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No. But yeah.
But okay, cool, thanks. And
Yeah,
any
I wish I had a better
plans?
answer for that. I wish I would have planned on that answer. I could probably think of something, but
Well, leave it in the
lately,
comments section
The
yeah.
Room.
when it comes up.
The Room is, yeah.
That was amazing
is a great one.
cinematography.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
Oh,
sure
man, if
you
you want
like
to see a
some.
movie, an inspiring movie with great cinematography is 1917. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but
No, I haven't.
that movie is that's a feat in filmmaking, and it's also a very good story and inspiring. It's about a guy who just has this impossible mission to do, and like just doesn't give up, keeps going forward. He knows he has to deliver this message, or they might lose the war, and he goes for it, and it's all done. It's all done in what looks like is one take. Right?
Wow.
Really?
This hour-and-a-half movie, yeah. Roger Deakins is a master at this, and it's amazing. It's not done in one take. If you know editing, you can see where they cut, but it feels like for the average viewer, it feels like it's one take.
Wow.
Yeah, that's intense. All right, well, that's one to think about.
Yeah.
And again, these things that Jeremy, well, not again, but these things that Jeremy are mentioning, besides the mindless tuning out ones, are the underdog thing, kind of like that, captures your spirit, like this not gonna stop type of thing, like the RoboCop. He comes back and man down comes back type of thing, which kind of is, I don't know, part of your story maybe in a way, right? 1917 is gonna have a
Just keep
mission
going.
and gonna dog it out and similar thing.
Gotta keep going, keep working.
Yeah, but I definitely don't want to see you have any come back as a robot after being.
We all are. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
We're all gonna be cyborgs.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm very worried about it.
We already are.
I don't
Kind
plan
of.
Kind of are, yeah.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We all have an extra brain in our pocket.
I know when you realize that you feel more whole with the computer. It's like when you feel that's weird. Any plans in the upcoming months that you'd like to tell us about, or that we should be looking out for?
No, because I'm working on this show that may keep me on the road until after the election. So like mid-November, I might not be back in New York until then. So following this crazy election that we got coming up. So yeah. No other plans.
That's your plan.
I'm doing this. If there's anybody still there, the only thing I would like to plug the Six Most Metal Breweries. If you just go to that link and see some of the videos that me and some friends have been making around around our love of heavy metal and craft beer. So,
Six Most Metal Breweries.
Yeah.
6mmb.com.
Yep. That'll take you there.
Yeah, check it out.
Yeah. It's inspiring too. I should have mentioned that. It's very inspiring. It'll inspire you to drink good beer instead of.
Well, I've drank some of that beer from that show, and I've seen the show, and it is fun, and it's done in good taste. So, I recommend people check it out.
Yeah, I just threw that in the link on my end as well.
Oh, cool.
So it should be in the chat if anyone needs the link.
That's the passion project. That's the new band. That's
yeah.
So
cool.
But yeah, this was great. This was fun.
Yeah,
I was a little nervous about it at first, but
it doesn't hurt that bad.
Yeah,
it's a pinch.
It's just a pinch.
Right.
And then you realize no one's really watching, so it's.
But it's immortalized. It's on the
Nick
internet.
And Deanna, so shout out to them for sticking with us.
Yeah.
And I hope I cured your insomnia if anybody has it.
Well, it's been a lot of fun. You could come back to this in a week, a month, and a year, and watch it and enjoy it. It's fun to actually rewatch these things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I found so, because it's not just listening to one of us talk; it's listening to the banter back and forth. It's got a different dynamic. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, this was fun. It was good catching up with you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same with
You,
you.
Lou, we were on that call a couple of weeks ago, but I don't think we really, when there's 8 people on a Zoom chat, it's kind of
It's hard to zone in.
catch up with people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
So
We tried.
yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Thanks,
Cool.
Jeremy. Get some
All right,
rest.
guys.
Enjoy the rest of your project.
Yeah.
Keep it metal.
Enjoy,
Yep.
man.
All right.
Be well.
Take care, guys.
See you again. All right. Take care.